Hi, my name is Billy Joe, and I'll be going over cognitive development theory. So, what exactly is cognitive development theory? This theory was founded by Jean Piaget in 1936. He explained how a child's mental mold was constructed by the environment. He disagreed with other psychologists that it was within a fixed trait. However, it was a cognitive process that occurred due to biological mutation and the interaction of the environment. His work was known as the genetic epistemology, or the original origins of thinking. Epistemology is the concern with the thinking of the fundamental concept, not the measure of how well the children could perform a task. So before Piaget's work, the assumption was the child or children were less competent in the ability of thinking compared to an adult. Piaget showed children just had different ways of thinking, not necessarily they were less than or had the less than an ability of an adult for thinking. He focused on development, not necessarily learning. With that. So he had 4 distinct developmental stages within that. So it was sensory motor. So with sensory motor, it was from the birth to the age of 2. And this was with object permanence. This is where you will see an object, the object is removed. You know the object is still there, even though you are unable to see this object. Then you have pre-operational. So this is from the age of 2 to the age of 7. And this is symbolically wherever you're learning that an object has more of a meaning than just the object. I would like to look at it as a pencil. You may look at it as just a piece of wood at first, and then you'll notice, oh, I can write with this as well. And then I can make letters with it. I can form words with it. So there's more meaning to it than just a simple piece of wood with some graphite in it. Then you have the next stage after that is the concrete operational. So this is from the age of 7 to 11. And this is more of a logic thinking. So you're beginning to get more logic in the way you're thinking about things. So it just makes more sense per se. The next one is formal operational. So this is from the age of 11 and over, or where you're looking at that adolescent to adult. This is more abstract concept, and where you're beginning to test hypotheses with this. The next thing that I would like to go over is schemas, or this is actually the building block of the information or the intellectual growth that I will go over in a second. So schemas are just links, and they must be cohesive in order for the links to be nicely together and fit, where there's not gaps of something that needs to be filled in with that. Wadsworth was a psychologist in 2004, came up with the terminology schematas, and it was just the meaning of multiple schemas. So he looked at this more of like an index card in your brain for the filing of this information, this links. Or these building blocks with this. So with this, we're going to look at intellectual growth. So you have assimilation. So exactly what that is, you're going to take information, you have a situation, you take existing information, and you connect it to come up with a solution for that situation. Accommodation is where you're missing something, you're missing a part of those links, part of those schemas to come up with a solution. So you have to think right then and there to come up with a solution. Equal liberation is the driving force of the intellectual growth with this. So you're coming in with a balance. It's equal. You're not in a state of mayhem all the time with trying to have that growth. So you're building appropriate schemas, and they're nicely cohesive together, so you're able to still continue to grow. So you may not be doing a lot of the accommodation aspect of it whenever it is, but if you are, you're doing it not as often, because what happens is if there's not equal iteration, then you have unequal iteration with that. So once again, the intellectual growth, assimilation, accommodation, equilibration, and it links into your schemas and your building blocks of that knowledge of linking those together cohesively. So then we have discovery learning. This was an idea that children learn best through, during, and exploring. It focused on the process of learning and not the end product or the individual learning. There was flexibility within the curriculum. So if something wasn't working or they seen a child may need to utilize this instead of that, they would do it. So they realized that it wasn't a one thing fits all kind of environment. So there was play in the learning. So playtime wasn't just playing, maybe running out, doing hopscotch or whatever. They had something, there was some kind of meaning in that learning aspect of it, or some kind of learning in the playing aspect of it. So the environment, there was not I would call a line of demarcation in the environment to say this is only for play and this is only for learning. So maybe in a classroom setting, it was like the desk is for learning, the rug is for playtime. In this type of discovery learning, every inch of that environment has the potential for a student to learn in. Discovery learning is where it's more of a child-led learning. So the child, you may place things out for them to look at, to discover. So you may, at one time you only have 5 blocks of the same shape. They build those blocks up. And then you may place 5 blocks of different shapes out. So they'll realize that if you put the small ones on the bottom, that they may not stack up as nice. So through discovery and building it, trial and error per se, then they figure out a solution on their own. And then the evaluation piece of this is where the teachers are always evaluating the child's progression. Teachers should not assume the only things that is valuable is measurable when they're looking at the evaluation. You'll look down here. I also have Fronan Doll's House Study in 1990. I will go in more detail with this at the end of my ZPD informational slide, or the zone proximal development. So thank you. Once again, this was about cognitive developmental theory. Jane Piaget was the founder of this, the study of epistemology. He had 4 discrete stages within this, and he looked over the schemas or the building blocks of this. And from this cognitive development theory, stemmed from that was the discovery learning, Piaget's influential in development education policy and teaching, where children learn through play or learn through discovery. Thank you.